Good afternoon. It's Charlotte Pierce, producer of Ready Row USA, and welcome to the podcast. We're back after a couple of weeks off for, virus, mental health, technical improvements, and we're back with our promised Pride Month celebration. We have with us today Brian Todd, who's the executive director and founder, I believe, of Gay and Lesbian Rowing Federation. And hi guys, Aquil Abdullah of Hydrow is our other guest. How you doing?
And this is Matt and Rachel, who work with the RF.
I didn't get their bios, Brian. What's with that? How do you like my slide? I took a lot of time with it.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyway, we are a part of the Rowing Chat podcast network. We go live to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and we also have a video component and we have an audio component. We feature the best of rowing news, interviews like this one, and gadgets and gears, very, very popular a feature that we run from time to time, and we try and focus on clubs and companies that are doing really good things in rowing, and organizations like GLRF. So we're going to get into it here after a second. You can subscribe at rowing.chat. It's one of those new URLs. It's just rowing.chat. That's all you have to remember. And oh, hi, Andres. Hey, Andres, your boat mount came back because I didn't give the post office enough money. But at least it came back to me, and I'll put the $5 that I owe them on there and send it out. Andres is in Philadelphia, and he won a oar-inspired rowing mount on one of our shows. So if you listen for the hashtag like Andres did, you may win something if you put the hashtag on social media. As I said, I'm the producer, Charlotte Pierce. I've been doing this. This is our 78th episode, if you can believe it. We have an assistant producer, Kymberly Reynolds. She'll be with us next time. She works for the fire chief in Chicago. So at any given time, she's called away on an emergency. So she will be preparing our news next time. We have several correspondents that come on from time to time. Mark Wilson with All American Rowing Camp, Tara Morgan with Seize the Oar Foundation, Ryan Worth down in Chattanooga, Cassandra Etok in South Jersey, and Ellen Minster, who's up here at CRI in Boston. That's a nice little phone. Aquil just has to dance, I tell you.
It's like Calypso or something.
I know. It's like a steel drum. Anyway, we have a couple of sponsors, and one is actually from Rowing Chat. We're putting together this whole big web page and program to help rowing retailers recover, because there are so many, as everyone knows, closed clubs and companies that have had to suspend their operations where they would have been just coming right into the high rowing season, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. And we'd like to help them out. So if you have a suggestion about a retailer you love, here are some of the ones in the graphic that I'm showing that have been sponsors of ours in the past of Ready Row USA. And you can send them to rowing.chat/contact. That's where you can get our contact form and tell us what retailers we should feature, and we'll contact them to find out if it's okay if we put them on our webpage and help them get back on their feet. So that's one sponsor, and we have a book that we're featuring later on. But right now, I'd like to get into the show and introduce Brian Todd, who I have met several times at the GLRF booth, at the head of the Charles, and we saw you at the U.S. Rowing Convention. We didn't get a chance to interview you then, but Aquil, jump in with any questions you have for Brian too. So But tell us a little bit about the organization and your background in rowing, and then why you think why the organization is relevant, and what the initiatives are that you're putting forward this year, if you can.
Well, I started rowing when I was 14, and it was a while ago when it was a good decision not to head towards national competition because a certain Russian president and a certain U.S. president disagreed on going to the Olympics. But I got a good fundamental base in rowing, and then after I left the Navy, I got back to rowing, and I ended up at the Amsterdam Gay Games, rowing with a bunch of people, and that's where our organization began to grow. We found out that there wasn't rowing at the next Gay Games, and it was a disappointment. We started an email list, which then turned into what was first Lambda Rowing and then was renamed to the Gay and Lesbian Rowing Federation. Keep in mind, for those who are listening, they said, well, how come you don't have all the other acronyms? We thought it was just all the rowing community could swallow, just by saying gay and lesbian. We decided that we need to just be out there, not hiding behind Lambda Rowing. And I have a wonderful story when we hosted our booth at 2004 inside the tent at the head of the Charles. None of the national team members who had just gotten back from Athens would come over except one.
Whoa, really?
And he hadn't rowed since Athens. And he just came right over, stood in front, and says, "What's this all about?" And I explained to him that, first and foremost, we're here to create a connected community around the world. And, that there are a lot of gay and lesbian rowers out there. We think there's quite a bit more than just the standard 10%, more like 20%. And because it's a non-contact sport. And Aquil, you probably know your teammate. His name's Jamie. And Jamie, it was
Is that from the Olympic program or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jamie was an amazing rower who was a walk-on at Stanford, and just he didn't have any problems at all. Everybody just looked at our booth and wouldn't, come in or do anything. Fast forward to now, everybody knows us, and everybody's much more comfortable.
It's really cool what you guys, and you were really tireless. I don't know what sort of a staff you have or volunteer corps, but you have a larger presence in the world than one might suspect for the number of staff you have, I think. But why don't you go through some of these? You sent us some points that you wanted to make, and I wasn't quite sure what you meant by the first one. Gay people equals political activism.
When gay pride parades and marches first started back in the 80s, it was all about political activism and trying to achieve recognition for HIV and for equal rights. And I think it is my personal opinion that in the rowing community, there is a perception that an out gay person equals political activist. And I think coaches think that. I think a lot of white people think that who are in a club who are straight. And what we really want to get across is that gay pride in today's world is not about politics. It's a celebration of and a recognition of you being who you are, out and unfettered, and just being who you are. And that's what a gay or lesbian rower wants to be at a club is they want to be themselves so they can talk about their lives just as a straight person talks about theirs. They share or don't share as much about arguments that you're going to hear or there. So that's
so you're more than your sexuality, or like if I have blue hair, I that's not who I am necessarily.
I have, if there's time, I have a story about Jackson at the head of the Hooch. This was like in 2013. He came to the booth and he's just a nice guy who's in high school and he had just taken up rowing that summer. Never rowed before in his life. And he was already in an 8. And at the Hooch, he had entered a pair. And he had only started rowing in a pair like 2 weeks before. And Jackson came in like 3rd in the race. And he was just one of those phenomenal rowers. Whether he was gay or not, I'm not sure. You know, he talked around how he was uncomfortable with his teammates, but he didn't say. But we had our Love to Row stickers, and he posed in the booth. Are you there? He posed in the booth with a sticker, and we put it on, I think, on our Instagram page.
I think we have a kid interrupting after Aquil. That's okay. We're so low key. It's amazing. Go ahead, Brian.
So several months later, Jackson calls me and he says, "Could you please take down the picture?" And I said, "Why?" And he said, "I'm getting some questions from coaches. They said, what's the significance of you in that picture at the Gay Lesbian Rowing Federation?" That, to me, is an illustration of this is about the perception. It's about politics. Jackson wouldn't say which program had asked the question. I took the picture down, but to me, it's just an example of the coaches. You're gay, you're out, or there's a possibility you're gay, therefore you're an activist, you're going to be a problem on the team. No.
Wow.
It's just a good rower. But, you know, so many of these coaches, they avoid the gay issue. And they shouldn't, because these people are carrying this burden around that they just want to be out. And that's part of what the Pride Month is about, is being able to be you. So that's
what you mean by coach support on this slide here. That is coaches being aware of this.
Yeah, and the and the club. You have part of the message is, if your club is supporting Pride, it's not a political act. It's about supporting your members and saying it's right. Putting on a beacon of light and saying you are very welcome and we're glad to have you here. So right. And having a coach who they should be thinking not about political activism but inclusion and acceptance, and saying, you know, everybody is welcome here, and if somebody here has a problem with a gay person, then that coach has to have the courage to say, gosh, you know, you have a great erg split, but maybe you should go somewhere else.
You don't fit in this club. Yeah, well, and then let's go on to some of the other points you want. Aquil, did you have any questions for?
No, I think Brian raises some excellent points about home and community and what we're trying to achieve in our sport. And I think that the mandate that we have now from sort of the current environment is that rowing needs to be diverse and rowing needs to be inclusive. And that, you know, so I think that everything he said, I mean, it's heartbreaking, and the story that he told, but it is evidence that we still have a long ways to go.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to have you both on was that, you know, Hydrow does a lot with just natural expression of pride and alliances with diverse communities, including the gay and lesbian. You know,
and Brian, just so you know that you know we're doing a Pride Row again next year, and you are on the hook for comments. So
Excellent.
I was told explicitly to let you know that
Yeah.
we'll be doing that again.
Yes,
Okay.
his office called and told him to, and I just wanted to show a picture that's me last year at the community rowing, the Pride Row that's sponsored by Hydrow. And, I was one of the two singles rowers. And I just got some flags, and I have a family member who's transgender, and I just wanted to be there. And I couldn't believe the vibe was so loving and great. I would like to, the world to sort of follow that model more. But so that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of amazing to live in a world where we can celebrate each other's differences and to really draw upon those differences to strengthen our communities. And that's I think one of the things that I really love about where I work now is how we try to incorporate that in everything we do, about bringing in diverse opinion and people, and get everybody thinking.
It enriches us all, and if you're just interested in promoting the sport of rowing, I mean, what better way than to increase the pool of people that feel welcome in it?
Yeah.
So, what are some of the things, Brian, that clubs can do to enhance, to be more welcoming to LGBTQ people? And
That's my second slide is you took away my title, but I'll explain it.
I'm sorry. Yes.
And the reason I led with the title of Pride by Association, it was a way to come in to talk about another story that we recently had. Pride by association instead of shame by association. When we first started, nobody wanted to come into our booth for fear that as soon as you see somebody in the booth, you automatically think, oh, they must be gay. Nobody wanted to go in. Even today, people won't buy our GLF shirts, which we've been told by so many people are just amazing. They're fun. They're all this stuff, but they've got the GLF logo, or people can figure it out and say, oh, you must be gay. And they're ashamed of that. Well, what happened recently was we had an Instagram picture from FISA World Masters in Budapest. And it was a picture of a guy who had a complete purple unisuit. And this is what we said on the descriptor for the image. Cue song, purple rower, purple rower. I got a message recently from somebody who said, I'm asking you to delete this photo. This man has nothing to do with LGBT people. So, you can look at it two ways. Maybe that person who contacted you was gay, and he knows that person is homophobic, or that person is, did not want to be associated with it. Well, when I read that message, I just flew into a rage. And I was like, so is the government of Hungary going to be contacting me saying, please remove the picture of this and this city or this and this rowing venue because it implies that somehow you're displaying it on your Instagram page means it's a gay beach, it's a gay environment, something like that. I was just seething.
That's insane. Yeah.
And so
I took the Rowers Pledge and put the sticker on my car. And I have to say, people asked me about it and were very warm to it. I don't know if I've sent anybody to take the Rowers Pledge, but why don't you tell us a little bit about that that program that you have, and what is that still an important thing that you're doing?
Oh, absolutely. It's a global initiative to promote inclusion and acceptance in the broader rowing community. And it's an effort for as a grassroots campaign for individual rowers to, go online and sign the pledge and say, this pledge is important to me, and supporting gay and lesbian people in the broader rowing community is something that, is important to me. And with the database, you click on the page at therowerspledge.org, and you can see the clubs use it, Station L, basket rowing, Harvard Radcliffe, women's rowing. As soon as several people start signing the pledge, they go up to the top of the list, and it shows instantly, the amount of support in a club. So any club could use that to show that,
that's very cool. Yeah.
And then you can use the stickers, which are free, and you can order from TRF. But what better opportunity than have a photo op or a video of a coach at the beginning of a season taking the sticker and putting it where in the boathouse and turning and saying, everyone matters in our program, or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
hey, I saw the Hydrow coaching the chase boat the other day on the on one of the workouts, and they had a big, huge flag on it. So
yeah,
it was pretty great.
It's pretty cool. It's like we're out there, and no matter what, you'll notice our stickers on our oars are as well right now all have sort of the the rainbow flag on them. So
yeah,
it's both really exciting for me to sit here and hear Brian share these stories with me, but it's also, like I said at the beginning, heartbreaking that these are still issues and challenges that we're facing in our sport. And so like I said, I love working where I do because we are about it's in our DNA. And I remember actually last year for me, I signed the pledge and I was like, what is it all about? And and I was like, and it's a meaningful thing to do, to step up and say that I support inclusion and diversity in my community, and that I will be an ally to push forward that agenda.
Absolutely. Well, before, I wanted you to talk a little bit about the Hydrow program and how it's baked into your company philosophy. But Brian, is there something you want to wrap up this section of it? And first of all, you're listening to Ready Row USA. We're a rowing podcast all about rowing across the United States and sometimes in other places. But thank you for tuning in and listening and watching if you're on video. So Brian, what would you like to wrap up with about?
Well, my advice for clubs, and I hope some clubs are listening or will listen to this, use your club logo during Pride Month. There's nothing more meaningful to a gay and lesbian person than to see a rainbow logo. And CRI is an incredible example of what they've done. But, there are commercial versions of it. American Airlines comes to mind. We convinced U.S. Rowing to change their logo last year, and they've done it this year. Rowing Canada has done it. But if an individual club changes their logo, it sends a message that is just phenomenal. And then for clubs out there, you want to do a Pride event support, you could get a Pride booth at a Pride parade, or those are expensive, but you could also consider doing a club event where you have a reception for the LGBT community. You have a party for that is specifically a Pride party for your club, and have everybody there, not just the LGBT people.
But how about just making it into, like, if CRI or a club has a booth somewhere, just having that be an integral part of your display, isn't that? I mean, it seems like that would be just like have it on your logo, have it be part of your, your every presentation you do. Just include those communities.
Well, there are some people out there that say, why should we, do this for gay and lesbian people. Well, it's the same reason that you put up Christmas decorations or holiday decorations, bringing people together. So celebrating the Pride Month is a way of just celebrating those members in your club who are part of the LGBT community, and well, who better to show a club event than the people we have on this podcast than Hydrow, because they're the ones who came up with the Pride Row in Boston. But any club anywhere in the world could put together a Pride Row, and that shows the members that it's important to the club, and it also shows to the community that the club is an accepting place. And at the end of the day, a club needs more members, and so.
Just bring them in, bring them on. We need more rowers of color and people to feel comfortable in their own skin at their rowing club, because it's such a cool sport. But so sign the Rowers Pledge. It's glrf.info, right? Is that your?
Well, we have a quick URL, therowerspledge.org.
Okay, therowerspledge.org. That's easy. That's easy to remember. And acceptance using terms like boyfriend, partner, husband, just kind of as you would my husband if you're straight, or
some people don't understand the difference between inclusion and acceptance. Some people say, well, what's an example of inclusion? And the real estate company Redfin did an ad that I think just perfectly explains it. They said everyone needs a house, and that was the tag of the television commercial. And then they showed two women, they showed two men, they showed a husband and wife, or boyfriend, girlfriend. Then they showed a single man and his dog. That is inclusion when you're showcasing a bunch of people. Just like American Airlines, their inclusion is when they have gay and lesbian movies as part of their in-flight movie stuff. That's inclusion. And acceptance is you are welcome here, and you are welcome to talk about your boyfriend, your girlfriend, and being open and gay. And I won't mention the name of the club here on the West Coast, but the president was telling me very proudly, he says, yeah, we have a policy. Everyone leaves their sexual orientation at the door before they come in the boathouse. And I looked at him, I said, I didn't want to call him on it, but I said, I thought, you are so clueless.
Oh God, it's like, I don't see skin color, it's like, what?
It's we think about it all the time. And there was an exercise at one of the conventions told me, they said, try not talking about your wife or your kids for 24 hours as a straight person. You can't do it. It's just almost impossible. Yeah. So being able to be who you are is not leaving, like, leaving your shadow at the door. It's fundamentally part of who you are. And so that's when you've got a newsletter or you've got something posting in Instagram, looks like Jamie's got a new boyfriend, or April's just got engaged. You put that on there, and that's acceptance, because you're not embarrassed, or you're not worried that your members are going to think, oh, that's inappropriate. This is very appropriate.
And also, if you're straight, or if you're brought up in the straight environment, just assuming that someone's is getting engaged to, like a woman is getting engaged to a man, it's not. You got to kind of be aware that might not be the case.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I think we've been talking about inclusion, but to say leave yourself at the door is avoidance. And I think that a lot of people pat themselves on the back and say, Like, yeah, we're all about rowing here. We don't care about the other stuff. But by not talking about it, you are not fostering an environment of community, and that is sort of, I think, one of the challenges that we have is that there's things that we say, okay, we're not going to talk about these because these aren't important in what we're doing. We're all about rowing. But no, we're not. We're boat houses. We're communities. We're families. We're where people come to get together and commune. And so, to Brian's point, we have to be able to be inclusive and be accepting.
Right. Well, like I said, I had showed you the picture. That was just such a fun day, and it was not an intense racing day. It was just like so much fun. So I'm looking forward to next year doing that one. And here's some pictures that Brian sent over, different festivals. Yeah. And where is this? Where's the rowing one?
The one on the left is from Budapest, where we and the difference between when we hosted a booth in Zagreb in Croatia in 2008 at the FISA World Masters, and then this one, which is in Budapest at the 2019 FISA World Masters, it was truly incredible. In 2008, the very formal English people came in and just laughed in my face. We had, various countries who came in, and the South Africans said, "You're trying to split the community." And said, "No, we're trying to, create a connected community among gay and lesbian people." And then all of that, is the Italians were probably the most accepting in 2008. Fast forward to 2019, everybody came in, and they were from all manner of countries, and it's just wonderful. And this one man came in, and I thought he was going to read me the riot act, and he says, "I'd like to get a shirt for my daughter." And I said, "Well, what size?" And he said, "Well, she's transgender." And I was just like, wow, that is so cool.
That's amazing. Well, there's been some progress, and thank you for being out there to remind us of, practical steps and things we can do to make people feel accepted and included. Yeah. And I wanted to go and, ask Aquil a few questions about the corporate culture at the startup Hydrow, where he works as an athlete and a computer scientist.
Yeah, software developer.
Software developer, yeah. Which there's a lot of that. So there's a picture of you.
Hey, that's me. That's
yeah, that's why I wanted to have you on, because I did all 8 of those. I'm so happy. I know. I couldn't stop. I did 2 in one day one time.
Yeah, but, we had one person, I think, do them all in one day.
I know. I heard about that. I heard that on Facebook. Yeah, you have a great training program, and to augment that, I took those on. Yeah. But tell me a little bit about your rowing background, and then we're going to run long today, so let's not even worry about it. I don't know if you guys have to go soon, but tell us how you got into this.
Yeah, so I started rowing in high school, and it's sort of I think about me being on this podcast right now, talking about or live stream, I'm not sure it's the right term, talking about, pride and, sort of LGBTQ plus, the community. So I was rowing on the Potomac when DC Stroke started. And so it was just sort of this wild thing, I'm a kid, I'm there, and I'm just like, oh, what is this all about? And, I think it was my first, it was pretty much in sport, my first introduction to that community, and sort of being an athlete or being out and being proud about who you are. And, you know, much like Brian said, like at first we were all just like, oh, you know, what's a rower? But as we saw sort of like, you know, their passion for the sport, and we saw the whole, you know, I'm saying as we saw their passion, but no, it's our passion. It's how you transition that them to us, you know, and that's sort of what became sort of embedded in sort of, you know, I guess my DNA, and how I talk about issues facing the LGBTQ plus community. And so it was this great, you know, and I remember seeing the Stonewall Regatta in DC, and it's one of those things where it's about everybody. It's about the rowing community, and but more importantly, how do we talk to each other, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things it did for me was, you know, I try to do this thing. It's like, well, what do I fear about another human being, and what is my responsibility to them? Right. And so it's like, well, what is that I fear? There's nothing to fear. And what is my responsibility? To treat them with respect. And so I think that like growing up where I did, that was, that sort of had like a profound, you know, impact on my formative years.
Yeah. And as a rower of color, did you have any special like sympathy for this, you know, for people, gay and lesbian people who are trying to just get involved in the sport? And
rowing, being a person of color in the sport of rowing is a whole nother episode.
I know. It seems like, you know, there is some parallel in just
but to the extent that you are a person in a community that is that you feel othered in, that you feel maybe feel less than, right? So the question is like, do I fit in? Like, what can I talk about myself? We share this experience. Everyone else is talking about these experiences in their lives, but how do I talk about my experiences in my life? So there was definitely a recognition of that sort of shared experience, but I'm not going to say that my experience as a person of color in the sport is the same as someone who is LGBTQ, because, you know, they're different. I'm an ally. Like I don't have to understand it to be an advocate. So
good point.
You know,
And Brian, is the Stonewall Regatta it still goes on every year, right? Or
they had to cancel just like every other regatta. So they had a virtual regatta this year. I don't know how successful it was. They had a bunch of different sports they had people doing to try to compete. But, you know, it's
hopefully next year.
Well, I don't, you know, we were planning on putting out there the announcement of our first international GLRF regatta, but it's looking like, well, I guess Tokyo is going to go, but I just, until they have a vaccine, I just don't see how multiple rowers in the boat can compete, because, you know, I'm walking the dog around the block and I'm huffing and puffing in my mask. And I just, how can you train a bunch of rowers
that's true,
the way they've been trained for the elite level on a bunch of ergs and not expose them? It's such an uphill battle until we can really put this behind us, and everybody seems to think, oh, well, it's all over. Oh no, it's just exploding.
It's crazy. I loaned my boat to CRI because they're just doing singles and family doubles now. And or, you know, household doubles or whatever you call it. So DC Strokes, what else, you know, what else kind of brought you to
So like, I mean, definitely talking about my experience at Hydrow, you know, it was like from sort of day one when I walked in, you know, there was this is just like, how do we talk to each other? How do we bring ideas and different perspectives and different experiences together to create the best product possible? And, you know, Bruce Smith is large. That's something that that's very important to him. You know, his work at CRI and other parts of the sport. You know, really that's been something that he finds important, and it shows in every person that is part of the Hydrow community. Like, you know, it's just like, it's funny because like we get pumped up for Pride Month, sorry. And you have people that are just like, yeah, oh, we got to do the row, like, and like all of the athletes are like, well, what can I wear? Like, I want to wear bandanas. No, I want to wear dilly boppers. No, I want to do, you know, and some of that stuff is like a bit campy, but it's all like fun about a celebration, you know?
Yeah, like I did the Pride Rows, and I just felt it was really nice, natural, non self-conscious way that you all were expressing your support. And I was really admiring how that came across just as a consumer of the Hydrow, or, you know. Yeah, it's good. So
yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun to just be able to express your support. And, you know, I think much to you know what Brian said early on, it's like it's not a political statement. It's a celebration of and showing the people in your community that you care about them, and and that we are one despite the differences that we all have and the experiences that we bring.
Yeah, it makes for a stronger rowing club. It just, you know. So
I mean, it's kind of crazy because I, like, you know, being a person of color, being Black, you know, like for me, it's always like about, I don't care who it is, like who are the fastest people, because I want to know in my boat. Like, I don't care what, like, you know, what you're into. Let's make this boat go fast. We can talk about it, you know, all day. I don't want, you know, like, but like, it's all about speed. So it's definitely a little disheartening for me to hear about, like coaches that think that you're making a political statement. So, you know, that's a sad thing. But, you know, so the other thing that this has done is that my daughter has her own Hydrow, you know, profile, and she saw like all of the rows. And since we're doing different colors of rainbow, she saw all of these different shirts, and she's just like, oh, I want to do that one. And so it gave me an opportunity to talk to her about, you know, people love differently. But, you know, we all love each other in different families and things like that. So I thought it was really like circular, like holistic for me to be able to talk to my daughter about what pride means.
And she's like quite young, right?
Yeah, she's 5 years old. Yeah. In the context of what I do, of like of her seeing me participate in something that is a celebration. And so
she's seeing you live, you walk. Walk the talk.
Yeah. So for me, that was like one of those moments where I was just like, I love where I work.
Great. Yeah. Well, it's you know, it's important for us to all do our part, and it's good to get these you know, practical things that clubs and individual rowers can do. I'd like to we'll have a chance to chat at the end, but I wanted to call attention to our sponsors again. At rowing.chat/sponsors, you'll find all the discounts and deals from our wonderful sponsors who keep us on the air or internet or whatever you call it. We will have our news next week with Kymberly, Reynolds in Chicago. Again, a lot of cancellations, but there's also a lot of stuff to talk about. So there's a lot of news in the rowing world. It just doesn't involve eights, regattas. We have a new sponsor, a book by Blake Gourlay, who wrote about the movement of rowing. And I think this is a series, but he focuses on the foot and ankle zone. And so it's a very specific, but I think if you pay attention to that, to the zone and what he talks about in the book, you might get some speed out of it. He's got 11 chapters: rowing injuries, rowing mechanics and prerequisites, screening rowers, and rowing solutions. And again, there's a discount and a deal if you go to rowing.chat/sponsors. So another book for me to read. We have a episode on rowing books coming up, and we're going to have Dan Boyne on. Do y'all know him? He wrote the Red Rose Crew, and this is the 7 Seed is his new book. So,
okay.
Yeah, and he coaches at Harvard. I think the recreational, or not the varsity program, but the other. I might be wrong about that. I'll probably get some mail. Anyway, we have a episode hashtag, and of course, the episode hashtag is Pride. So RRUSA Pride. If you use that on social media and spread the word, you will most likely win something. We have gadgets, gear, and services that we give away, including Andres Carrazzo's camera mount that he's going to get soon. We have rowing club news. We have a forum in the show notes. Everything will be included in the show notes after we post it on our blog at rowing.chat. So if you have news in your club, or if you're doing a fundraiser, if you hired somebody, if you have a special Pride program, please put it on our forum, and we'll catch it on our next show. We have gadgets and gear. I'm sort of a gadget freak, so I developed this part of the podcast. And what's your favorite gadget, Aquil?
Right now, I just got a new GoPro, so I'm all about trying to make these little videos and stuff like that. So.
Have you done anything with drones?
No, not me personally.
Yeah,
but I want to get a drone next.
Yeah, I've got too many needs in terms of electronics. I think I have to cut back a little bit. How about you, Brian? What's your favorite gadget? It could be small.
Unfortunately, it's big. My oars.
Yeah, this one that we have on the slide, it's this $5 bracket that fits on a Concept 2 and holds your phone. It's just brilliant. It's just right there, and eye level, and
so you can download the Hydrow app and
right. I did that. I was beta testing a Hydrow app at CRI. I actually got an iPad for that purpose, because you don't have an Android app.
We're working on it.
Will you tell your software developer that? You're working on it.
We have. Let me say this: we have heard you. All of you Hydrow users we have heard you.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're iPhone centric. All these people. We have a survey that's on our website. We'd love to hear what you think of our podcast. There's several different podcasts. There's a new one on coxing, the Candid Coxcast, and Rebecca Caro, our executive producer, does a regular training program and interviews with people like Aquil, who may have excelled in rowing over the years. Sponsors, the RRUSA Pride is the hashtag. Now I put the wrong one up. This is my company, Pierce Press. I am a publisher of books. And we have Kymberly is coming next week. She didn't get her slide ready, but it's coming. And we have a whole host of topics coming up, including the rowing books reading one, in case you're off the water. Or we'll probably do a whole episode on safety in the COVID era, and how to get what clubs are doing to keep their rowers safe as they get back on the water. So anything else you guys want to wrap up with? We went way long, but I love it.
It's kind of a sad thing, but I want to it's not I guess you'd call it a shout out. One of our earliest members was Angela.
Mm.
And she died 2 days ago, rowing across the Pacific.
Yeah.
And one of our first booths was at LA Pride. And Angela cut a check so that we could afford to have, she didn't cut for the entire thing, but she made a donation. Her resources were pretty limited. And she and her wife were just part of the rowing community that just never cared one bit and just was out there competing and doing their thing. And if there's anybody who symbolized pride, it's Angela and Deb. And so they're markings.
And she died rowing across the Atlantic?
The Pacific.
Pacific.
She was doing a solo row, and she was about halfway to Hawaii. And
I'm so sorry.
She's a wonderful GLRF member. I saw her at every major event, and she was an incredible person. She was a three-time world champ in Paralympic competition.
Wow.
Medal winner.
What's her last name?
Madsen, Madsen.
Angela Madsen. We'll dedicate this episode to her, and thank you for bringing that up. And thank you both for being here. This is just, it's important stuff, and let's all be allies and advocates and include all types of people in our clubs and rowing activities. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay. Aquil Abdullah and Brian Todd, you're the best. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.